maybe कुछ network issue है. We'll come back.
So we are going live. Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to today's episode of PSY Talks on meditation. We are on the second episode today, and we are going to focus on 1 minute meditation. I am Nitin Shah. I am the CEO of iCharge and Director of iCharge Support Foundation. This entire initiative about Psych Talks for meditation is a result of a collaboration between iCharge Support Foundation and the Spark Wing of Brahma Kumaris, Mount Abu. The objective behind this particular series has been to talk about different types of meditations, the different researches which have been created on that, and to also help all of you understand how these meditations can become a part of your day-to-day life, how they can benefit from you, and then obviously end you with specific actionables that you can apply in your life and benefit from application of these meditations in your life. We have with us today Dr. Ajay Kumar Nair, who is a postdoctoral research associate at the Center for Healthy Minds. He is interested in multidisciplinary approaches to understand consciousness and well-being in health and disease. He is currently working with one of the best researchers, Richard Davidson. His neuroscience research work over the past 10 years has involved meditation participants from Brahma Kumaris, Rajayoga, Vipassana, and Heartfulness traditions. His current research is on the adverse effects of chronic inflammatory diseases such as asthma on brain health. Prior to his research career, he worked for 17 years in the information technology domain. He also had an active meditation practice for 20 years with Brahma Kumaris, which led to his interest in carrying out research on consciousness and well-being. So welcome, Dr. Ajay Kumar. I am glad to have you with us, and I really hope that today we would be able to throw some light on 1 minute meditation and its researches and its application.
Thank you, Nitin. Happy to be here.
Thank you, and please let us know if there are a couple of things that you would like to begin with before we get into the entire session.
No, thanks for organizing this. I think it's a valuable initiative, and I look forward to our discussion.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Dr. Ajay Kumar, if I'm not wrong, today we are discussing about 1 minute meditation, right? Would you be able to give us a brief introduction to what is this 1 minute meditation and what was the objective behind this study?
Sure. So actually, the notion of 1 minute meditation is a little odd. Usually when people talk about meditation, it's about, people sitting in quiet for an hour or two and, trying to introspect and so on. So in the Brahma Kumaris, there is this interesting approach called, traffic control. And so what that basically means is during the day, we have a lot of traffic of thoughts in our head. And so is it possible to take a break from that? Like if you reach a traffic junction and you see a red light, you stop, right? You don't have a choice. So similarly, they have this practice called traffic control. And there's another one called the spiritual drill. So, which is like in school, you would have done this physical education training and you do 1, 2, 3, and you change your posture. So the goal there is to change your, mental state at will. And so I was very curious to understand how this works. Is it, do you feel good in 1 minute, or do you actually make a physiological change? Do you have a, any change that is practically happening in the brain? So that's something I wanted to study, and it's a very unique kind of a thing. So that's what led to this research that we did at NIMHANS, Bangalore. That's the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences. So, so the idea was to study how this just a minute meditation works. Can you do meditation in a minute? Does it, can any person do it who doesn't have any training? Or do you benefit if you have advanced training? So that's the kind of context in which this research was done. It was done with EEG and electroencephalography, and trying to understand what's happening. So I can talk more about that as we go forward.
All right, perfect. And when we're talking about 1 minute meditation, so obviously the question is, it really possible to meditate only for a minute?
Yeah, uh, I think it's definitely possible, and our research sort of demonstrates that. The question there is, how practical is it to effectively make a state change? So the question here is, some people might take a long time, but those who are experts should be able to get into and get out of a state at will, right? So the goal is, for a master, for a person who is new, it might take effort, but those who are really a master in a particular technique, they should be able to just snap into a state, snap out of a state at will, on demand, anytime, in any context. And actually, in our study, we tested that. We tested if it's possible, in day-to-day life, if you have a stress, you make some mistakes. So after that, is it possible to meditate? And would you get the same benefits, right? So early morning, if you sit and there's no problems, everything is chill, at that time you meditate, sure, you can do a good job. But can you do it also if you're challenged? And that's what we tested, and actually it is possible, and but it needs practice, it needs training. That's what the results were, and we can go into that as we go forward.
Perfect. So interestingly, I don't know if you are aware of this. At iCharge, we are into training therapists and coaches in terms of developing advanced therapeutic skills, right? And this is one of the big challenges that both coaches and therapists face. That our clients are not able to change their state quickly.
Hmm.
When they come for a particular session, they're in a particular emotional state, and it's very difficult for them to transition from that one state to another,
Yeah.
right? And it's amazing that you could have something like 1 minute meditation where people could make that transition so quickly, especially after they've practiced and obviously they have got some
Right.
experience in that.
Right.
Interestingly, a lot of processes that we cover also kind of help people do create those state changes and so on. So for all of you who are watching, if you feel that it's difficult for you to do meditation because it will take years of practice, the truth is, one, it's not necessarily true for everyone. Different people take different amount of time. And second, even if it takes you longer, it's actually worth that time, because the ability for you to transition from state 1 to state 2 can be very powerful in your day-to-day life, right? All right, so going forward from where we were, a lot of times when people are doing meditation, there are a lot of these thoughts that come in their mind, right? What would you suggest? How would this play out in 1 minute meditation?
Sure. I think the main thing to be to focusing on is, anyone can pay attention to a specific thing if they're interested in it, right? If people are watching a TV show or a movie or a sport that they're interested in, they're able to focus without any problem, right? So it's a matter of focus and value. And 1 minute is certainly something that anyone can do. So if someone says that, well, I don't have half an hour, my concentration is not good, I cannot spend 30 minutes in one state, that's fine. I mean, but can you do it for 1 minute? I think anyone would be able to say that I can pay attention for 1 minute if I try. If I don't try, if I just sit casually and hope, that's not going to work. But if someone is interested in mastering themselves and getting an experience, then if they put a serious attempt at it, they should be able to manage this without an issue. And managing waste thoughts or any other thing, you can just have to say in your head that, well, all that can wait for 1 minute for sure. There's no urgency for that. And let me for this minute just focus on the task at hand, which is getting my state to be in this particular form which is advised, whichever meditation that is being done, right? So
Perfect.
it's certainly doable.
Brilliant. So, also, if any of you are having these challenges and facing these issues about thoughts and you're not even able to focus for a minute, One is what doctor said is completely right, that if you're really able to find something that you're interested in, it should not be as difficult for you to focus for a minute, which is one. Second, it's obviously about being able to train your mind. Third, what doctor said right now makes a lot of sense, where you're able to tell people, or you're able to tell yourself that, if there is any other thought that I have, it can wait for now. And that conversation with self, where you're able to inform yourself that it's okay for me to wait, that doesn't mean that I don't want to have these thoughts, or that I'm trying to avoid these thoughts. I'm simply asking myself for time so that I can come back to whatever thoughts I have after a minute. And that self conversation can be extremely, extremely important when it comes to being able to manage your states and being able to handle your thoughts and emotions. Right? Lastly, there is this one small trick that we use to be able to manage our thoughts, right? And the trick is to ask yourself what next. So if you're sitting for a moment and you have a thought in your mind, and if you feel that the thought is really persistent, it's not going away, just ask yourself what next. You will have another thought coming next to that, and then ask yourself what next. After 4 5 rounds of thoughts, your mind actually goes blank, because it doesn't really know what to do next after that. It wasn't expecting you to ask those questions to the mind itself. And then from there, you can go into a lot of other processes that we are talking about. So there are multiple ways of being able to work with those thoughts. See what works for you. And obviously, the simplest is what doctor mentioned, that if you can find something that you're really interested in, start with that, and I'm sure that that will be a good starting point for you. So, doctor, the next question that I have is, were there any specific steps that you include in the 1 minute meditation?
Yeah, in this, there are a number of things that people can practice, and there is a website called Just a Minute Meditation for those who have no experience in any meditation practice at all. And these are just introductory 1 minute focus guided, visualizations or audios, which will help a person to get into a simple relaxed state, and that's for non-meditators. In the study, what we did was, in Brahma Kumaris, there are a number of different kinds of meditations that are practiced, and there are many different states of mind that are explored. It's a quite a vast array of techniques, really. So in that, one of the foundation steps is called soul conscious meditation, and basically what that means is the practitioner, the meditator, experiences themselves as a soul, which is like a star behind the forehead. That's the experience that they try to have, and it needs a fair bit of training. So for a new person, when they start, they usually undergo a 7-day course where they are taught what these concepts are and how to experience that. And so it does need training. So in our study, what we did is we had 3 groups. One of them were non-meditators. And so what we told them is, just try to experience like I'm a star behind the forehead. It's a simple instruction. Try to imagine that. Try to experience that if possible. For the second group of participants we had was short-term meditators, those who had 6 months to 2 years of meditation experience. They were proficient, but they were new. And so they already know what is soul consciousness. They have that experience, and so they're able to get into the experience. And the third group we had was those who had over 10 years of practice, over 10,000 hours of meditation. They're experts, and this is an introductory step, so all of them know this particular step of meditation, and they also go into this meditation state. And so the primary distinction between the 3 groups: the first group has 0 meditation experience. They're just practicing whatever is told. I'm a star behind the forehead. I can do that for a minute. Anyone can do that. And so that's what they did. The second group knows what to do it, can do it very well, but they don't have a long time of practice. And the third group are experts, those who have been doing it for a long time, and they're masters in that field. And so that's the key test that we were doing across these populations. And so the instructions were very simply, try to experience yourself as a star behind the forehead. And that's it. This is for the meditation state. And we also had a rest state where the person was asked not to meditate, and so the question is, not only that can you meditate, but can you get into meditation and get out of meditation at will, right? So that's the protocol.
Okay.
Yes, that's the website, what you've linked. That's one of the websites that's got a lot of introductory meditations for non-meditators. So those who have no background and no understanding of the philosophy and so on, they would just like to try something for a minute. They have a lot of audio commentaries which are 1 minute long, and some of them are relax your mind or keep calm and so on. Very basic topics without needing any background at all. So that's a useful site.
Correct. So I'm just sharing the link to that particular site in the comments also for everyone who's watching who wants to kind of explore what the 1 minute meditations are, especially if you're not from a background where you've been meditating and you want to just be able to get started with that. So, Doc, just a second. I'm sharing it on the Facebook and YouTube page.
Oh, I thought you had already shared it. So I was talking about
So
that.
that was only with you because I was checking.
Sure.
Perfect. So you mentioned that you took people who were already experienced meditators majorly for this particular study, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the 1 minute meditation bit that you were doing. Now, can this meditation be done by those members who don't really follow the philosophy of Brahma Kumaris?
Sure. I mean, meditations can definitely be done by anyone, and there are lots of people doing these meditations. Especially the 1 minute meditation that you just shared on the link is something that anyone can practice without any background at all. We don't know what the efficacy of that is specifically. What we have tested in our study is the soul conscious meditation part, and looking at EEG signatures of what's happening in the brain. Can you shift states objectively? Because at the end of these meditations, everyone says they feel good. They feel calmer, they feel peaceful. So that's good. But is it reliably different? Are there state changes happening? That's the question that we were testing.
That's actually so I'm really happy listening to that. The reason I'm saying that is because for a long time we have been maintaining this that when we work with clients and you use processes like relaxation, meditation, or hypnosis, the client not feeling good after the session, you really have to go out of your way to do a bad job. Right?
Right.
Because the nature of the
Right.
work is such that the client is anyway is going to feel better at the end of the session. But
Sure.
that's not really a very reliable indicator for change.
Right.
The reliable indicator has to be based on sustainable change that the client is able to experience, right?
Right.
For us, we generally use behavioral change because that's what the client is also looking for. So the moment they are able to notice a sustainable behavioral change in their life, they know that whatever they've done in the process is working for them. And I'm really happy that you're also talking about not just how they're feeling at the end of the process, but actually a state change that's happening with them and it's sustaining over a period of time.
And that's measurable at the brain with objective parameters. So we're not asking the person, were you able to meditate or not, that we're doing anyway, but we're also validating that by looking at EEG signal, EEG power, what is the kind of change that is there, and so on. And these are basically EEG, for those who are not familiar, is we are putting electrodes on top of the scalp, and we are measuring electrical changes that's happening inside the brain while the person is meditating or being at rest. So then we are able to see, is this change happening at a practical level because of brain activity? That's something that we can test.
Okay, perfect. So coming back to our topic in terms of 1 minute meditation, are there any prerequisites for people who want to practice this?
Yeah, for the justaminute.org that you shared, that basically anyone can do. For practicing soul conscious meditation, which is what we have tested, they should participate in a 7-day course typically, and that's available at centers pretty much anywhere around the world, really. And in every city in India, I think there are lots and lots of these meditation centers, Brahma Kumaris meditation centers, and they can visit that. It's 1 hour per day for 7 days, and at the end of it, there is a fair bit of knowledge and understanding of what this process is, and then they can they would be able to practice that by themselves. And usually the centers also offer daily classes, so they can do this lifelong. And usually people end up doing that. So that's something that's to experience a soul conscious state does need training, and that's a prerequisite. But it's a fairly simple thing, and I believe there are online courses also available now. I would defer to the Spark group to explain about that in a separate session, I think.
Sure. Though I shared a link on both Facebook and YouTube right now, which has details about the 1 minute project from Brahma Kumaris. So anyone who's interested can please check those links out and see if you have any questions. Get back to us and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions. Doc, before we go ahead, there's a question by Supriya on YouTube, and she's asked, was the EEG done during the process or after?
It was during the process. So we have. So let me explain a little bit about the protocol, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's completely good.
Yeah. So what we did was look at we had 16 sessions of 1 minute each, and what we did is the person in Brahma Kumaris, the meditation is usually done with eyes open. Which is quite rare. Usually people do meditation with eyes closed. And so what we wanted to do is to see if people can shift between rest and meditation with eyes open and closed, and before and after a challenging task. And I'll explain what the steps there is. So we start with rest eyes open, and they get an instruction which says that, don't have any salient thoughts, do not meditate, just relax, and be yourself, think whatever, with your eyes open. And so there is an instruction that comes in the front. There's a small bell which says, okay, now it's the time that starts, and you rest for a minute, and then you close your eyes and rest for another minute. So you get instructions for each of these states, and then you get another bell, and then you are asked to meditate for 1 minute. And all this time you're wearing this EEG apparatus, the cap, and this is a 128 channel EEG that we recorded. So you do a eyes open meditation, then an eyes closed meditation, and this whole thing repeats once more. So you have 8 sessions, 8 of these states in one session. Okay, so this before anything. As soon as you come, you are instructed about all this. You do these 8 steps, and then there is a task. And in this task, basically, it's a game, and there are 3 levels of this game, and with increasing difficulty. So what happens is, towards the end, you perform very well initially, and towards the end, you make a lot of mistakes. And it's very simple task, but it happens very fast. So you have to respond in milliseconds. So as you go forward, you make mistakes, and we give feedback that this is your score. And so this simulates the situation that in real world, sometimes we get into stressful situations, we make mistakes, and we don't have time, we have to make quick judgments, and that's what we're simulating. And it's very engaging. So at the end of this is about 1.5 hours. So after this 1.5 hours of task, then we ask them again, can you get back into meditation? So we do the same 8 steps, eyes open rest, eyes closed rest, eyes open meditation, eyes closed meditation, done twice. And so then what we're checking is between rest, eyes open and eyes closed, if we check before a task, after the task, taking everything together, is there a state shift? If you combine all eyes closed, similarly, can you see a state shift? If you combine before and after a task, you see a state shift. That's what we're trying to see. And what we're trying to see is the protocol sufficient that even a non-meditator can achieve it? Secondly, is a new meditator, is there a EEG signature to it? What kind of state changes, what's happening, and can they do it in a minute? And finally, the long-term meditators, what is happening in their state change? Right, so that's how this protocol was done, and EEG was acquired continuously throughout this. And this was all carried out in Dr. Bindukuti's lab at NIMHANS.
Sorry, were you saying something, Doc? I've kind of lost
That was the whole study was carried out at NIMHANS in Dr. Bindukuti's lab, which is the Department of Neurophysiology. And there's a Center for Consciousness Studies there, and the study was carried out there.
Okay. Uh,
There's another question about are we checking the state during the challenging task also? That's a separate study. Here, the question is about state change during meditation. We're not looking at during the task. That's a separate study, and that we're not talking about that particular thing in this in this paper. What we are discussing.
all right. Perfect. Um, so now that we've discussed the methodology and the process for the entire research, any other tools that you would like to talk about that were also used in the research?
Sure. Actually, there were a number of things that were done. There were a number of psychological, questionnaires to do with their well-being, trying to understand what's happening. And these are the groups that we studied. The meditators are all proficient meditators, right? So even though someone is new, they're pretty good at what they're doing, and they've been recruited with the support of Spark. So the subzonal coordinators of Brahma Kumaris in Bangalore, they were kind enough to send the meditators after checking the criteria, and I verified that they meet all the criteria in terms of none of them had any lifetime experience of any other form of meditation. So there were a number of inclusion and exclusion criteria, and the additional thing that we did was look at psychological their well-being questionnaires, their subjective well-being, psychological well-being, there's quality of life, and there's a whole number of measures. So we had another paper that was related specifically to their proficiency and duration of practice and well-being, and I believe we will talk about that at a separate session later.
Okay, all right, perfect. What were the observations and the effect outcome on the psychological level, physical level, and the psychosocial level?
So in the primarily the non-meditators did not have a state change. There were no electrophysiological changes in any of the before the session, after the session, taking everything together, there were no changes at all. So they felt, all of them said that they felt good. They were able to do some meditation. That's what they felt when we asked them for their reports. But essentially, there was no brain state shift between rest and meditation. Now, this is different than saying that there were no changes at all. There were changes if you look, sequentially. So what is happening is, after rest, they meditate, they have some sort of a change, because even if you concentrate, there are changes in the brain patterns, right? So you have, in this particular case, there were increased theta and so on. So you see some power changes even if you are just concentrating. The problem is they're not able to get back to rest after that, and then get back into meditation after that. That switch is not possible for them. So when we are looking at state changes between rest and meditation, that is not possible for non-meditators in our study for the specific protocol that we designed. So there are changes as time progresses, but not in terms of state shifts. The short-term meditators, when we combined all the eyes closed meditation before and after the task, there were changes. There was increased alpha. Alpha is, alpha power is usually seen when you close your eyes. You have an increased alpha power. That's sort of a normal thing. But what we are talking about is a shift between rest and meditation. We're not talking about just eyes closed and you have increased alpha. We're shifting between rest and meditation. And so the short-term meditators were able to achieve state shifts, but they were not able to do it in 1 minute. They were able to do it if you combine all these rest and meditation segments before and after the task. So that's a longer duration overall. So there also the challenge is, it's not that they were not having increased power, it's just the ability to shift, which is a challenge. But there was some indicator that they were able to achieve, and they are proficient meditators anyway. And the long-term meditators, they were able to do it before the task, after the task, combining it in eyes open, in eyes closed. So they were robustly able to shift, and their state changes were in the theta range. And so the interesting thing, what that demonstrates is, you can um, pay attention, and with effort you can make state changes. Even in 6 months to a year of practice, you can be effective in that. That's all it takes to really master this. But it doesn't happen in a minute. It takes longer than that. To truly be effortless and achieve mastery, which is on demand at will kind of change, it takes long time of practice. And the long term group had 10 years plus of practice. We don't know if it can be done in 5 years, but certainly those who had 10 years plus experience were able to do this, and in any condition, even after making mistakes. And all of them made mistakes. The task was designed that all participants had mistakes in the task. So in spite of that, you can get back to a meditative state at will. And so that's good news, in the sense that um, it is possible. Um, the 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 side note to that is it takes time. If you expect that you just sit and you had a major problem and you just sit and say, woof, let me meditate and get peaceful, it might not happen that. So one of the things in the Brahma Kumaris is that you need to practice um, for a long time. Bahut kal ka abhyas, that's a phrase that they use, and to be a master. And I think that's very true. That's what this study sort of shows.
Okay, perfect, brilliant. There is a question by
One
Supriya
more thing
about.
I may add.
Yeah, please.
Um, this is slightly different than saying that can you benefit. You also mentioned about psychosocial and psychological benefits. So you can have well-being benefits pretty quickly. You do not need 10 years of practice for that. Even the short-term meditators had profoundly improved well-being states, and as compared to controls, they were pretty robust. And so you can benefit from meditation pretty quickly. The ability to have mastery on a state of on your state is something different. So to make it effortless, take time. But with attention, you can have well-being pretty quickly. If you are trying to change your lifestyle changes, you can achieve that pretty quickly. So that's the other good news that I would like to offer with this paper.
Hi, perfect, brilliant. And Supriya has also asked a question about, is there a published paper that she can refer to?
Sure. I don't know if I have the ability to share,
You
but
should
I
be
think
able
I've
to
shared
do
it
it.
with iCharts. I've shared that with iCharts, so I can share. I don't know if.
So Supriya, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the link in some time once I'm able to get hold of the link. I think it's there with us, and I'll share it before the end of this episode. Right?
I've just shared the article with you, Nitinji. Maybe you could share it with others.
Thank you. So Supriya, here is the link that you can check out. Okay, super. Um, how would you? What would you say to people who would say that we would like to do 1 minute meditation now?
Sure. One simple thing I would actually recommend, rather than me trying to teach meditation right now, is point you to that link that we already have. And maybe we also have a YouTube link, I believe, that uh, we had discussed, and you could share that. It's a very simple thing on relaxation. So what I would like you to for when if you could play that video, what I would like participants to do is forget everything else and follow the very very simple instruction and try to be in that state without worrying about am I a good meditator or not, or can I do it or not. Just if they say relax and calm down or whatever they instruct, just follow that. So this is not soul conscious meditation, this is just relaxation, right? So what I would welcome people to try, and I believe that even doing this very short thing would bring a peaceful state. And if they're interested in more details, I would encourage them to actually visit a meditation center where they can have their personal doubts clarified. And usually this is a one-on-one session and it's for free. So people would be the meditation teachers would be more than happy to they do this as a service. So they would be more than happy to take in your questions and guide you personally for any understanding.
All right, perfect, brilliant. So I'm going to share the link to that in the comments box. Any of you who would like to experience in meditation right now, please go ahead, play it, listen to it, and get back to us probably before the end of today when we are ending the session, or maybe in the next session to let us know what was your experience like. Now, while we are reaching the end of today's episode, Doc, anything else that you would like to add? Any other inputs that you would like to add for everyone who's listening to us right now?
Yeah. People come to meditation for many, many different reasons. Some people come for stress, some are, psychologically challenged, some have, physical pain and difficulties. Some would like to know God. People come for very, very different reasons. And it's important to note that, there are many different meditation traditions, and, not everything fits everyone equally. So I would encourage people to try, and especially if there's a mental challenge or an illness that's there, I would encourage them to first consult with their physician before trying a different kind of a specific kind of meditation, and to mention that this is what I'm trying to practice. Now, these 1 minute meditations that is there in the justaminute.org, they are very, very simple. They're just trying to relax and so on. So it should not cause a problem to anyone. But if they're trying to do anything more ambitious, trying to go into more detail, usually most meditation forms are pretty helpful. But there are occasions where some meditations could have some adverse reactions and certain mental illnesses. So it's important to consult your physician before trying to do anything advanced. Um, but that's just the cautionary note. In general, meditation is very helpful. It's been demonstrated again and again in thousands of papers that it's good for well-being. And in our study, I've studied the Brahma Kumaris method in different ways. There's quite robust evidence of the well-being benefits in Raja Yoga as taught by the Brahma Kumaris, and also in other meditation forms. So really, the most important thing for you to do is to meditate rather than think about meditating and so on. So try something, learn what are available. These are usually free resources. So you don't have to invest a lot of money or time. Experiment with it. That's something valuable. That's one. The other thing that I would recommend is also take care of your physical health, in terms of exercise, in terms of diet, in terms of adequate sleep, because these are all also important things for well-being, and often they're not, considered strongly enough. People just pull on and manage their stresses. So I would recommend everyone to explore meditation for sure, but also take care of their physical and other aspects of well-being.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, a couple of things that I want to add for all of you who are watching us right now. Uh, as I said, we specialize in working with coaches and therapists, and we take personal therapy. So, one of the things that we have noticed is while it's good for all of you to do meditations and try different meditations, at the same time, if you are already in a state where you're feeling very vulnerable, very overwhelmed, or while doing a process you start feeling uncomfortable, please consult your mental health practitioner. While all meditative practices probably are really good and they can really benefit you, they're not really replacements for consulting a specialist in terms of a practitioner if you're struggling with certain areas of your life, right? And that's also one of the reasons why we are doing these series and these episodes, because while we want to promote the idea of different things that you as individuals can do to be able to maintain your mental health and to be able to live a happier, healthier, and a more fulfilling life, please do remember that there are different roles for different people, and there are places where visiting and consulting a mental health practitioner may be almost necessary for you. So don't think of one as a replacement for another. You can continue with one and you want to probably also do the second if you are in a state where you're feeling really uncomfortable, or if you feel that probably visiting a mental health practitioner would also help you and support you in your journey of achieving whatever outcomes that you want to achieve. uh, I can say this because I also, when I'm taking sessions, I actually get a lot of clients who have been practicing certain meditations, but sadly, the meditation that they are practicing is not working for them and is doing more harm to them than good. And the reason for that is not that the meditation is wrong, it's just that that meditation doesn't probably suit their mental state that they have right now. So keep that in mind. It's extremely important for you to be able to seek the right kind of help that you need and that can really help you in your journey towards a happier, healthier, and a fulfilling life, as I mentioned earlier. Also, today, a lot of what we have discussed about is the philosophy or the meditations related to Brahma Kumari. So, obviously, you need to understand a bit about the philosophy to be able to really make use of the meditations and the researches that we are talking about. I'm going to share a link with all of you so that you can go and research and read a bit on Rajayoga meditation and Brahma Kumari so that you also have the context in terms of what we are talking about and how you can benefit from it fully. Lastly, so Doc, one of the things that we are doing is we are encouraging more and more people to make an announcement that if I ever need help and I need to visit a mental health practitioner, then I pledge that while I'm doing what I can do to take care of my mental health, I will be open to the idea of visiting a mental health practitioner. And I would also encourage other people to consult a mental health practitioner, not just because they may have a disorder or an illness, but it's like when you visit a physician, right? You're not necessarily visiting a physician because you have a problem. It can normally be a checkup that you're going through. And you could do the same thing with visiting a mental health practitioner. So we have this challenge called as Visit a Mental Health Practitioner Challenge, where we are encouraging more and more people to come out, make an announcement saying that they are open and willing to visit a mental health practitioner as a part of their normal life so that they can um give their mental health as much importance as they give their physical health. I would really like it if you could make that announcement and say that I would be more than happy to visit a mental health practitioner as and when I feel that it's required.
Sure. And I think one of the, the reason you have highlighted that, and I think it's important, is that there is an associated stigma with visiting a mental health practitioner as though we become lesser in some way. And it's important to understand that the brain is also very much part of the body. And, there's a lot that can happen if we are under stress. There are hormones that are released which impact the body. And the one of the current works that I'm doing with asthma is showing that the effect that the stress has on neuroinflammation and neuroinflammation that has on our psychological profile. So these are very, very powerful situations and interactions between the brain and the body and the mind, and so we should consider this with equal respect and with the understanding that if we have a challenge, then we should definitely consult with professionals, and I'm certainly happy to do that. um, to benefit from those who have expertise in the area and who can help in a particular situation. I mean, if you have a heart problem, you don't say that I just hope that it'll go away. You visit a cardiologist, right? And so it's the same with mental health, and I would encourage everyone to not look at uh, mental health problem as any different as a physical health problem. Is probably more important than physical health problems. In fact, you if you look at the predominance of mental health problems in the world, it's just increasing so much because of the kind of stresses. And last year was certainly a very devastating year for lots and lots of people. um, there's a question that has come up, which is saying that not all people are capable of meditating. One of the research papers mentions that, but those who meditate, they benefit a lot. I think the second statement is definitely true, but it's not true for everyone. There are some people who meditate and have adverse effects, and it's probably because they're not practicing the meditation that's most suited for them. Uh, the first statement is, and I do not really agree with that statement, because I would encourage people to think about this a little bit. Meditation is an umbrella term. There are many, many forms of meditation. And chances are that the kind of meditation that is suitable for you is available in some form or some school. some of them are contemplative, some are attention driven, some of them are non-attention driven. It's mindfulness. Some involve movement, some involve sitting, some involve breath, some don't. So there's a really wide range of meditative techniques. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in meditating and feel that they can't, to explore further. Not to say, well, I tried one kind of meditation and it doesn't work, and so I'm not a meditator. I would encourage you to explore different forms of meditation and find until you find something that suits, and then stick with it in detail until you get to some mastery. Because the first time you try meditation, it might not work. So you do need to engage with it for some time to practice it sincerely. And if after 6 months you do not find any benefits, then you should explore something else. That's what
Perfect.
I would suggest.
Perfect. So Vedangi is actually one of our students, so she'll understand what I'm saying right now. So Vedangi, it's actually the same as saying where people say that not everyone can be hypnotized. The truth is, it just depends on how you are defining the process. One, what your understanding is. Two, and second, is the right process being applied? It's not just about using a technique and the technique doesn't work. So yes, obviously there is no one technique that will work for everyone in this world. I don't really think there's one technique that exists like that. We all of us otherwise will be doing that. The truth is there are different types of techniques. Each techniques work with different kinds of people. So you need to be able to figure out what the right technique for you is. The same applies to hypnosis, the same applies to meditation in many, many ways. And so just be careful about that. Also, I'm emphasizing this again, what Doc said is very right, that to say that every meditation is good for everyone is probably a bit of a misnomer. You have to understand that there are different types of meditations. Each meditation has a different impact on the way your mind functions, the way your system responds to it, and so on. So if you are experiencing a discomfort with a particular process, don't just assume that discomfort is a part of the process and that I will get over it. Consult someone who knows the practice that you are doing, and they will probably be able to guide you and support you a lot more effectively.
Yeah,
Right?
but I would also say that don't stop at the first moment of difficulty, because self mastery is not a trivial effort. There is an initial hiccup, and unfortunately, most of us are not trained from childhood to do this. So, from my experience from within studying in the Brahma Kumaris, there's a wide variety of people, from illiterates to extremely educated to all backgrounds. And so for a vast majority of people it works. If it's so, what it means is, if you try it sincerely, chances are that whatever you're trying would work out for you. But if it doesn't, check with those who are experts in that tradition, and if they can't help you also, then move on. You don't have to feel bad that you're not able to meditate. You can find something that works for you.
Perfect. Brilliant. I would like to make the same announcement that I had asked Dr. Mac, that as and when I feel, actually, I already have a mental health practitioner. I consult with a mental health practitioner probably almost on a weekly basis, because there are a lot of things, both in terms of goals that we are working with. And I have noticed that my mental health practitioner has been very, very useful in terms of me being able to achieve my outcomes and goals. So it's not just about helping me overcome certain challenges that I may have, but it's also about being able to grow and evolve and achieve the targets that I want to achieve in my life. And second, when we talk about meditation and when we talk about stress and when we talk about hypnosis, please remember there are enough people who have received enough benefits in areas that you can't even imagine. Right? There was a time when people thought that aches and pains to physical hote. You'll be surprised how many people now receive benefit because they have been focusing on working with their mental health, and through their mental health, actually psychosomatic health issues and aches and pains are also being addressed for a lot of people. So you may be surprised where focusing on your mental health will really, really help you. Focus, do those meditations, work with mental health practitioners, work with whatever groups that you're working with, and please focus on your mental health in some format or the other. Right? Don't ignore it. It's extremely important part of your life, and that's all that I can probably request all of you to do. So I hope all of you benefited from what we discussed today. It's been an amazing episode for me. So I would really like to thank Doctor for being there with us for the episode today. we are looking forward to seeing you for some of the further research and further episodes going forward. Anything else that you
Thank
would
you.
like to say in the end?
Thank you. I think one thing that's important for everyone to keep in mind is to take care of themselves. This is not a selfish endeavor, but taking care of your own well-being is useful for not only for yourself, but also for those who are in your contact, your family, your friends, your colleagues. Mental health is everyone's, it's everyone's agenda. It's not someone's personal thing. So even though you want to make a big difference, do great work, all that is great. I think you should go that, and a lot of people are high achievers and go through a lot of stress in trying to achieve all that. But if you don't take care of yourself, whatever achievements you might achieve in the world, uh, that's a costly victory. So I would really encourage, while doing all the great things that you're doing, take care of yourself, take care of your family and friends and colleagues. If you're peaceful, if you're happy, if you're loving and respectful to people, then the world is a much better place by just being who you are. So that's what I would like everyone to consider. And take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care, everyone. We will see you next week again, 7:30, with another meditation, another research. And I really hope that you are going to benefit from this, and not just intellectually, but you'll also start applying it in your life.